NBA basketball totals for Saturday, December 17th. We have 3 games on the card today. Yesterday, terrible day. NCAA segment did not do well either. Just a bad day overall in hoops for us. And that happens from time to time. Just there's going to be days like that. So let's see if we get back on the winning track today. We're going to look at 3 games on the totals. We also have our NCAA segment on the totals. What that is, the final score as predicted by the odds makers. We try to beat that line either over or under that total that is set by oddsmaker. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at 3 games on the card today. Don't forget to check out SBR for all the odds, all the numbers, sign-up bonuses, sportsbooks. It's all there at SBR. Sportsbooks to avoid, all that good stuff. So be sure to check us out. Here we go. Let's dive into some games. First one we got is Indiana versus my favorite coach, Stan Van Gundy, and the Detroit Pistons, who did not help me yesterday. Letting Washington just score all over them. Oddsmakers have this total here at 199. I'm going to go over. Indiana under Nate McMillan has shown the ability to really get up tempo this year. I think Detroit's going to go ahead and run. I don't think they're going to be focused in defensively very much coming off a back-to-back. Indiana can put up some points. I think they're going to be able to do so tonight. We got right now Indiana's averaging 104.2 points per game. Detroit, they're averaging just 98.9. Now, on the other side of the coin, we got Detroit allowing 95.7 points per game and Indiana allowing 106.4. So I think Detroit's going to have some opportunities with that, spread the floor kind of offense that Stan Van Gundy has going, to go ahead and knock down some threes and make some shots and really kind of just get into a good flow in this game. Both these teams can shoot a little bit. Detroit has struggled at times this year. Let's look at those statistics right here. First, let's talk about Indiana. Right now, they're shooting 45.3% on the season, but what I like is they're shooting over 36% from beyond the arc. That's a really good number. That ranks 9th in the NBA. Detroit, they've had their struggles, but they are averaging 39 field goals made per game. That ranks 11th in the league. And on the other end, we got Indiana. They're averaging 39 field goals made per game, which ranks 11th in the league. So I think they're going to be able to get there. 199 is a pretty low total. Both these teams have shown the ability to go ahead and score some points. I think it's going to get up and down, especially with Indiana coming to town. They're a team that likes to push tempo, 86.2 attempts per game, and they'll allow tempo as well, allowing opponents to get up almost 87 attempts per game. So that's a pretty good clip, and I think they're to get up and down. So I'm going to go back over that total with Detroit and Indiana. Next one we got up. This is going to be a really underrated matchup, and don't be surprised if Minnesota actually pulls the upset. I know it sounds crazy, but Minnesota's coming off a nice win at Chicago. Houston's on the road, and Houston's been absolutely rolling. But this is a good spot here for Minnesota to stop their winning streak. Just mark my words, but that's not what this segment's about. Minnesota and Houston right now, oddsmakers have it. It's 221. Let me double check that number. 221, and I'm going under that total. I'm going under that total. I think I don't think the pace is going to quite be there. Houston can flat out shoot, but I'm going to go ahead and bank on the fact that Tom Thibodeau is going to put together a good defensive plan against them. They held Chicago to 94 points, and Chicago's not playing really well recently, in those losses to Milwaukee. Yikes. But, also, if you look at Minnesota, I think although they haven't played great defense, I think they have the ability to do so. Let's look at their last 5 games. Chicago, Golden State, Detroit, Toronto, and San Antonio. 5 of the best teams in the NBA. So, yeah, those teams have scored off them, but this is a decent Minnesota team. They're still young. Yeah, they got a pretty bad losing record, but they got some talent there, and I think they're going to be fired up. Now they got to face Houston, but I think they're going to be fired up at home to take on Houston, coming back with some confidence against Chicago. And I think they're going to hold them to a reasonable number. Tempo-wise, it's not going to be super fast. Houston's just really efficient. Right now, I'm not going to talk about their how much they score per game. I want to talk more about the percentages on this one. Houston, they're averaging 47% overall. That brings 3rd in the league, and they're averaging 53.9% of their 2-point shots. Minnesota is poor statistically across the board, but Houston loves to shoot the 3, and Minnesota is allowing just 36% from distance. I don't want to say just allowing. That's their best defensive statistic. So they're going to get out. They're going to defend. I'm banking on Tom Thibodeau again to go ahead and put together a good plan against this really, really good Houston team. And Houston's just rolling right now. Minnesota, another thing I like, they're allowing just 82 field goal attempts per game. That's a pretty slow pace. And Houston's not overly fast. They're right in the middle of the league as far as attempts. Then we talk about Minnesota. They get up just 84 attempts per game. That ranks 24th in the NBA. Houston allows a little bit of tempo, but still right in the middle of the league. Minnesota, not a great shooting team. They're okay. They shoot 45% from the floor. That ranks right in the middle of the league. But 221, That's a lot of points. I could see why oddsmakers set it up that way. We got Houston. I mean, just look at their last 2 games versus Sacramento and Brooklyn. They got up and down the floor. Minnesota, out of those last 5 games, that 221, they went over it twice, 2 times in the last 5 games. So Houston, it makes sense that they're going to go over it. But I like Minnesota to go ahead and do a good job. And again, don't be surprised if Minnesota pulls the upset. I know that sounds crazy. I just like the way how it sets up for them. I mean, you look at Houston, their last 3 games they faced Dallas, the worst team in the NBA, Brooklyn, the worst team in the NBA, or second worst, and Sacramento. Sacramento's really struggled this year. Good win at Memphis the other day, but they've really struggled. So there's not really any marquee wins here for Houston's winning streak. The biggest one they had was against Boston. They won at home by 1 point. So although this is a total segment, don't sleep on Minnesota tomorrow. I kind of like them to go ahead and beat Houston. All right, next one up, we got Portland and Golden State, a ridiculous total. This is outlandish. 230.5, 230.5, and I'm going under. That's just way too many points. I mean, they might score 240, but the clip, the pace they're going to have to go to. I'm just looking up some numbers here as I continue to go over this segment. I mean, the pace and the percentages they're going to have to shoot at is just ridiculous. And Golden State is a team that's starting to pick it up defensively. They really are. I mean, they are starting to shut teams down at a pretty reasonable rate. And I think they're going to be able to hold Portland to a reasonable number as well. They could score 240. They really could. But they're going to have to go real fast, and they're going to have to knock down all their shots. And that's just tough to do night in and night out. Portland, they're averaging 110 points per game. Golden State's averaging 117. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're first and fourth in the NBA. Shooting percentages are great. You got Portland, they're shooting over 50%, and you got Golden State. They rank first in the league across the board in all the statistics. But let's look at these teams defensively. Portland, not great. However, they are allowing opponents to shoot just around 49%. That ranks 11th in the league. That's not bad. Tempo-wise, it's going to be fast. I'm not even going to get into that. They both are around 87 attempts per game on both sides of the ball. But then we got Golden State defensively. They're number 1 in the league in defending from beyond the arc at 32.4%. That's where Portland makes their money. So I think if they could do a good job defending, as they have been, because that's the thing about Golden State is people forget about that. Yeah, they could score, but the reason they were champs 2 years ago is the defense they played, and Steve Kerr stresses that. And I think they're going to get out and defend Portland really well. That's a good Portland team who's been playing pretty poorly this year. I mean, look at their last 10 games. They just have not been playing good basketball, but they're still pretty decent. They're going to come in fired up. They're going to have to play some D against Golden State. Golden State, I mean, across the board defensively, they're allowing opponents to shoot just 43.2% overall. So, yeah, it's going to be fast-paced. They're going to get there. I mean, they're going to get up to a lot of points. It's definitely going to go over 210. I think it's going to end up somewhere around 220. 230.5. That's a lot of points. I think it's just too much. All right, let's quick recap that. Really good slate of games here. NCAA too. Be sure to check out our segment on that. Indiana, Detroit, we got over the 199 in a game. I think Indiana is going to go ahead and push and pace. Detroit's going to run with them. Houston, Minnesota under the 221 in a game. I think Minnesota has a shot to go ahead and pull the upset because they're going to go ahead and play some good defense. Tom Thibodeau is going to have them ready to go. And Portland, Golden State under the 230.5. Just want to make sure I mention that. Houston, Minnesota, yeah, under the 221. Okay, those are our 3 NBA picks on the totals for our Saturday, and I wish you luck on your picks today.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts and shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.